Hello everyone. For those of you that are following me and Stellify on social media, you'll know that I'm in the process of trying to get a lot of the functionality from Livewire and Inertia.js into Stellify to make development easier. So I thought I could just start this ball rolling with the community by posting a video showing how you would just create a simple counter component, and then in later videos we'll kind of gradually build this component up so that we've got server communication. We can persist the counter variable to session or to the database that you're using on your back end of your app. So how would we set up a counter component, just a basic client-side counter component? Why don't we start by just scaffolding some of the view. To do that, we'll need to insert an element here. I'm just clicking, my server's cold, so it just needs to catch up with me. There we are. So yeah, we have an element. What can this element be? That can be a wrapper element. I'm going to set the text to large because looking ahead, it'll be difficult to see what's going on if I don't. So we'll insert a child element. This child element can be the counter variable. I can display the counter variable. I'll back up and I'll put another child element in. This can be a button. I'll set the tag to be a button and I will select input. That button can increment the count. Let's throw another button on there to decrement the count. Okay, so we have two buttons, and why don't we also throw in a conditional statement just to illustrate the fact that you can have elements hidden or displayed depending upon the value of a variable. So we'll say the counter is greater than 10. Okay, so this will make that element display based upon that condition. Right, so we've scaffolded a little bit of front end there. The next thing we'll need to do is to go to the editor, select the JS folder, we'll create a new file, let's call it counter, and we'll need a method to, actually first of all let's just back up, let's just create the counter variable to begin with. I'll just call it count, and it's going to be an integer, and we'll initialize it to 1. For those of you that aren't familiar with what's happening there on the screen, well, we have this internal Vue.js app that Stellify gives you, and it has a store already waiting for you to put variables into. Okay, and that's where we're putting this count variable. We're putting it into our variable store so we can access it in our code. Okay, so we have that variable set, our initialized counter, and yeah, we'll add that method. So it was increment, and then select the method. We'll start a statement off, and we just want to basically grab that count variable, and it's in our variable store, and we want to set it. No, we don't. We want to increment it, and if we back up and add a new method, decrement, we just want to do the same thing again, only this time of course we will decrease the value of the variable. Variables dot count, and then it will be minus. There we are. The last method we're going to need is that condition. Okay, so what did we say? It was going to be greater than 10. We'll call this method. Add our statement. So we want to say again, this variables, we'll grab our count variable, and we want to just say greater than 10. Okay, so we have our statement there, and all we need to do now is hook everything up. So I'll go back to the top level. In fact, we'll go back to the interface. We will, have I just clicked into the element? Yes, I have. We want to go to the top level of our page, the root level. We want to, in the menu, we want to get JavaScript files. We want to find our counter file, and we want to add that to the root. Okay, so we have this file loaded now, and I'll refresh the page so that that JavaScript is available to us. I will go to our little holding element for the variable first, and I will select the variable, which you can do over here in the quick attribute edit. You don't have to go searching for it in the edit bar. So attach data, count, that's the name of our variable, so it's on display. We need to go back to our button now. This one can be increment, in fact, probably decrement first, that would make sense being on the left. So decrement, and we want to trigger this event on click. In our counter method, we want to run that decrement method, and we will add that event. Okay. Then we have our increment button to do pretty much the same thing with. Increment, on click, counter, and we want increment. We'll add that event. And then finally, we'll just attach that conditional to this statement, this element rather. So we have this is visible condition method, so we just need to choose our condition method, which is the greater than 10. And you'll notice that that element has disappeared immediately because we're not greater than 10 at the moment. If I increment the value above 10, then you can see that the element will appear or disappear depending upon whether that condition is met. So yeah, we have that kind of scaffolding there. It's not very pretty, but we have that kind of scaffolding for a basic component. This has always been possible in Stellify. The next move that I'm making programmatically behind the scenes on the platform, as I said, is to get this kind of Livewire type situation up and running. And it's, if you don't know what I mean by Livewire, it's worth having a search in Google and a little bit of a read up on what it does. Essentially, you can create components on the server, and there's a kind of communication channel, if you like, that exists between the two. You don't have to faff on creating APIs and whatnot. It just hooks straight into your Laravel application. It will go and store variables, or it will fetch variables and bring them back into the client view for display. It's quite a powerful little tool. And yeah, and that's what we're working on at the moment. It'll just sprinkle a little bit of magic over your application development. It'll really speed up the process of creating some quite complex functionality there, and there'll be a lot less bloat in your code base as well. So yeah, I'll leave that video there. Have a little play about yourself with creating counters and whatnot, and keep an eye out for the next video where things will get a little bit more complex. See you there.